Welcome along to another BMW E39 M5 how-to guide. And today we're going to be looking at headlights, namely the adjusters, how to replace them, how to separate the headlight lens from the body, and further to that, how to convert your Euro Spec headlights to US or JDM market spec headlights as well. If you think you might have faulty adjusters on your headlights, the easy way to test it is to grab hold of the back of the headlight bulb and try and move it up and down. If it moves up and down really easy, then your headlight adjusters are defective. If it's solid, then your headlight adjusters are okay. Now, the main reason why the headlight adjusters fail is they're made of really brittle plastic, and over the course of the years and the heat cycles from the headlight bulbs have an effect on them and causes the headlight adjusters to break when you hit potholes in the road or speed humps and so on and so forth, or even when you're changing the bulbs, because they're quite tight in the headlight bulbs, and it can break the headlight adjusters when you're trying to twist the bulb or the bulb mounting to remove it. So the headlights on my particular car, they're fine. They were replaced brand new at BMW by the previous owner in around about 6 years ago, according to the paperwork, and they cost him quite a small fortune, so I ain't going to be replacing them. However, I do have a set of spare headlights which we'll go through the process of. These ones are xenon, and as you can see, the bulb rattles around very easily inside its housing, and that tells me that the adjusters are pretty much demolished and no good. Now, to replace the headlight adjusters, there are a couple of ways of doing it. I've seen videos of people going in through the back of the headlights and it being really fiddly to do. You can split the headlights and remove the plastic cover from the front. This is more difficult, but it is the best way of doing it. And to do that, you need to warm up the headlights using whatever your chosen method is. We're going to use an oven, as it warms up the headlight nice and evenly and then helps you split it. Not all the headlights can be split. 2003 onwards certainly can't. 2000 to early 2002 can. Now, on the back of the headlight, between the dipped beam bulb and the indicator, is a little stamp. It's got a little arrow pointing to the number 9 on this one, so that tells me it was the 9th month, and there's 2 zeros between the circle. That tells me it was the year 2000 of manufacture. So if it's 0001, then you will have 0 problems, and you can split these in the oven, as the adhesive used is butyl kind of adhesive. Whereas if it's 02 onwards, I'm not quite sure of the year. Some early 02 ones are fine, some aren't. But generally speaking, if it's 02 onwards, then you won't be able to split these in the oven, as they change the adhesive from a butyl type to a PU adhesive, which is permanent sealed. So do check your headlights before you start splitting them down to make sure that you can do it that way. Also on these headlights, you may be able to see from the camera severe pitting and yellowing slightly. This is mainly due to the age of the headlights and plenty of miles they may well have covered. So we're going to be going through the process of cleaning that up and restoring them to their brand new freshness. It's quite a simple process, but it is time consuming. So we're going to start splitting the headlights down, and we're going to start by removing all the little rubber drains and the little filters inside them as well. Then the xenon brackets, 8mm socket bolt either side of a bracket, and then a T20 Torx bit if you want to remove a xenon ballast as well separately. The angel eye rings, bulb just twists and spins off, and same for the indicator. Once the xenon bulb ballast is out of the way, then you can get to the headlight bulb underneath a lot easier. And then we'll take out the automatic headlight adjuster as well. T20 Torx bits. Then you'll need to wiggle that side to side slightly to release the ball part of the headlight adjuster from the main casing inside. Once you've stripped the headlight down from behind and taken all the bulbs out and various bits, this is how your headlight reflector will probably look. And if you can see down inside the headlight itself, you can see where the plastic adjuster unit is at the bottom and where it is also snapped off, just to the bottom right there. And then the same will be for this one down here as well. This one's pretty much non-existent as it's snapped off and vanished into the headlight unit somewhere. Once you've had the light in the oven for about 3 or 4 minutes at 200 degrees, the butyl will be soft enough that you can just push away the headlight lens from its frame whilst undoing the clips and get it all stuck over your fingers and gloves. So it's a good idea to wear some decent gloves. Make sure you unclip it all the way around. If it becomes work hard as it cools down, pop it back in the oven for a couple more minutes, then you shouldn't have any more issues. Just make sure you're wearing some decent gloves that are heat proof, otherwise you'll end up burning yourself. Then once you've split them apart, this is what you're left with. The reflector unit, which can be clearly seen wobbling around, bits of adjuster left in the front of the headlight lens itself, and then all the associated internal trim from the headlights, and plenty of sticky butyl as well. So if you do that for both headlights, then we'll go on to the next part of the conversion to the US Spec, which involves stripping all the front off to get to the little reflectors inside. If you're not converting to US Spec, then strip it all off anyway, then you can give it a wipe down inside, remove any dirt and grime that's built up over the years. Now the headlights have cooled enough for us to start work on, we're going to remove the reflector part, and because all the adjusters are smashed in bits, simply a case of lifting it out, then unplugging the grounding wire from the back of the xenon unit. Then once you've done that, you can clearly see the smashed adjusters inside the housing. To remove these pieces, simply wind off the nut at the back, and that will wind off the adjuster itself, and then eventually it will fall out. Tip of using a 10mm socket on the back of the adjuster is a lot better than using the 5mm Allen socket at the top, as these gears have a tendency to strip sometimes, and that's more so the case when we're putting our brand new adjusters on as well. To make it a bit easier, I put 10mm socket on my drill and just put it on the back and wind it off and hold the adjuster piece inside. Then that's what it looks like when it comes out. As you can see, there's still a tiny bit of adjuster left there because it had broken off in a couple more places, so I'll wind that off. Give the inside of your headlight a wipe down. The reflector for the indicator is clearly filthy from dust and grime over years, so give it a wipe down as well, and then it'll look a bit cleaner like this one has, that I've repaired already. Your new adjusters will look like this. Identical to the factory ones, but made of slightly different material to stop them going brittle over years. Simply slot it in, then using your electric drill or whatever other means, wind on the adjuster all the way down to the bottom. Do the same for the other adjuster as well. And then when you've done that, you'll be able to move on to the reflector housing and removing the old parts of the adjuster from there as well. To remove the remains from the back of the reflector itself, place the headlight reflector face down onto a soft surface. These are puppy training pads which we had left over from training dog. They're also great for putting under your car when you're doing an oil change as well, which catch any oil spills which might happen. And simply pry open the triangular locking system, and then you'll be able to lift out the ball that's left inside the socket. If it's broken off like that, then you may need pliers to do so. Also inside there is a little tab which you can push in, which will help you in removing the ball from the socket. Once you've put your new adjusters in and given your reflector a wipe down with a lint-free cloth, paying special attention to the glass on the outside and also on the inside as well, then refitting is simply a reversal of removal. Don't forget to plug back in the ground for the bulb. Place the headlight reflector gently inside its housing, then push home the ball onto the socket. Then that is your new adjusters in place. If you are keeping yours as Euro Spec, then place the cover back on gently, warm it back up in the oven, then press it back home fully once the butyl is fully melted. Then leave it to cool. If you are continuing with the US Spec conversion like I am, then this is the next part of the job you'll need to do. The first part of the US Spec conversion, or JDM conversion, is removing the indicator / side light lens, and that's really easy. Gently squeeze the two tabs together at the top from underneath here and it will fold out. Put them down onto a non-scratch surface. Then on the rear we're going to be using some tangerine coloured stained glass paint. Now the reason we're using stained glass paint is it's transparent and it will allow the light to come through from your bulb, because once you've done this you can use a normal white bulb as opposed to an orange coloured bulb. So use a small artist brush, then evenly give it a coating at the back. So once it's dried off from the front you won't be able to see any brush strokes or marks, as all the stain will be on the rear on the textured side. That's the first coat done. Now from the front, yep, they're not quite orange enough, so we're going to stick another coat on it to see what it looks like after that. The way this stuff spreads out, it's quite it goes on quite thick, but it spreads out quite a lot, so I'm guessing that it may require 3, maybe 4 coats to get the desired effect of the amber. On the US / JDM Spec headlights, the side reflector is orange, whereas on the UK and most of Europe it is clear. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can find a product that strips off the coating on the inside of a lens without damaging the lens, because it's a very basic sprayed on chrome paint. Or you can use the stained glass paint to give it a coat over the top. This will keep the silver reflector part of it behind and allow the reflector to work as per the US Spec ones, which was an orange reflector. The option is entirely up to you. I'm going to go down the staining route as I've got the tub of stain. I think about 3 or 4 coats should just about do it, and hopefully that won't leave any brush strokes as well. Once you've finished staining your indicator lenses, simply clip them back into the housing for the interior of the headlights, and then you'll be able to see the instant contrast against the clear ones. So as can be seen there, this is the clear. Then for the reflector trims at the side, once you've finished staining them, you may notice that you do have some brush stroke marks on it. It's not an issue. If you put enough stain on, you can deal with this quite simply by using a 3000 sanding pad to flatten it off. Then once you've done that, you'll be able to polish it up, and hopefully that'll be a nice smooth surface. After a bit of trial and error using the glass stain on the reflectors, I decided against using that, as when I was polishing them up I noticed that the silver on the back wiped off quite easy. So instead of going down the route of polishing up the old headlamp lenses and spending hours and hours and getting them not right, bought a pair of brand new ones for £100, took the silver reflectors out, stripped off the silver on the back, then painted them from behind using orange paint. The colour I've used is Ford Electric Orange, which is a metallic. So a couple of coats of that from behind, and you can see that the reflector still retains its OEM look inside, whilst also being orange. Then that'll pop back into the headlight lens, and then we can reassemble the headlights. Once your paint has dried and you've removed any masking and given it a quick coat of clear on the back just to protect it, then you can put it back into the headlight lens housing. Then using a soldering iron, re-melt the plastic where the heat stakes are. Then this will stop the reflector coming loose in the future. You only need to do it a slight bit just to melt the plastic. Just hold the reflector in place. As you can see there, it's been done a tiny little bit. Then that'll stop the reflector coming loose. Do that for both sides, then we're ready to put the headlights back together. Once you've got your headlight reassembled and it's been back in the oven for a couple of minutes, then you are attaching the brand new headlight glass to it. Simply lay it over, make sure all the clips line, and then you can push it firmly home, starting from this side first, making sure all the seal is in fully all the way around. Once you've got your headlights back together, this is the finished product. Make sure that all the clips are fully home and the torque screws on the back are back in as well. Leave them to cool before refitting all your bulbs and your other hardware, mainly because it's easier to handle when they're not like 180 degrees Celsius still. And also, if you seal them back up and add all your hardware whilst they're still hot, there's the risk of condensation forming inside. Once you've refitted everything to them, fitting them to your car is simply a case of removing your old headlights, if you've bought a spare set like I did to convert, then putting your old ones to one side and putting these new ones in place. Or alternatively, if you see my video for fitting LED main beam headlight bulbs, then we go through headlights removal in that video as well. So once these are refitted to the car, in a couple of hours, then we'll be able to see what they look like. Once you've got your headlights refitted to your car, this is what they should look like. So this is on a Le Mans blue facelift model, and as you can see, the amber sets off really nicely. So to complete the look, I'll swap the side repeaters and the tail lamps at the rear for OEM brand new ambers as well. So thank you for watching. I hope this video has been of some use for you. It's been a case of trial and error to get this done. So once again, I've spent the money, so you don't have to waste money trying bits and bats to make it work. I've tried a couple of different things and I found the best one possible. This is short of spending around about £600 or £700 on genuine ambers, which if you can get hold of them, fantastic, but I've been looking for a while, struggled to get hold of them, so I went down the route of modification. And as with any other petrol head, there's something satisfying about doing a decent mod. So thank you for watching and keep tuned for more videos in the future.